This is the Pirate Hunter, and this is part 2 of the in-box kit review of Renwall's Atomic Cannon. If you read the post that I put on part 1, you'll see what the whole situation is. This has been an ongoing battle between myself and YouTube and Google Plus and Gmail. When that whole fiasco took place last year, I ended up with 2 accounts. One under the Pirate Hunter, one under Terry McDade. So what happens is it goes one of 2 places. One, I can post videos longer than 15 minutes. The other one I can't, because one's under Pirate Hunter and it's a long story. We're trying to get it resolved. So, enough waffling on that. This is the instructions for Renwall's Atomic Cannon. On the paper, it actually calls it as Revell. So it says the overall length of the atomic cannon and carriage, including transporters, was 84 feet. The 2 transporters were used to carry the gun and carriage as a single load with the gun retracted. The weapon could be in place in approximately 7 minutes. In addition to firing and accurately delivering an atomic shell to a target, the weapon could also fire a conventional 600-pound high-explosive shell to a target range of 18 miles. It was 4 times more accurate at long range than any mobile artillery piece developed prior to World War II. This was developed in, actually, the Cold War era, so to counter or the Soviet threat or for propaganda or whatever. So we started on this originally in the first one, but we'll go through it again. The directions come in as a booklet. They have color callouts, but they don't call out for anything for a manufacturer on them. They call aluminum, brown, flesh, olive drab, red, semi-gloss black, steel, and yellow, but they don't call any specific manufacturer on it. Front page is the right frame assembly on it. It does have the paint callouts on it, on the parts on it, for it. This is for the right frame for the cannon assembly on it. Rear front deck, right frame assembly, rear deck, side view, right frame assembly continued. Then it has the gear frame assembly. And as I said in the first part of this before it got cut off, the gears are really got a lot of detail on them. There's no flash on them that I could see, so they will intermesh quite well on this, or should, without a whole lot of problems on the one I got. It's got the small diagram here. It says gears shown in place behind the retainer plate number 133. So it shows your gear sets on it. It shows no glue on this also. So it must be able to be lifted, rotated. Then it's got frame assembly on step number 2 on page 4. Is continued, retainer plug, turntable base. So this whole thing will apparently pivot and turn on it. The cannon assembly, as I showed the size of that on the kit review, the Pack 40 cannon that I've got, as compared to this thing, is quite a bit different. Cannon assembly starts on step number 3. It goes through this step. It calls out the paint again on this, and the platform on this, the detail on this was quite good. So it's should take a wash or a weathering quite well on it. This calls no glue on this also on the platforms. So you can pose this apparently with either platforms down, platforms up, however you want to set it up. No glue on the lock pin, which goes through to apparently to lock this place, lock both sides. You have a lock pin on both sides. Again, it has the right front platform, the bracket supports, and again it shows no glue on it. And it shows the way it goes in with the steps. And these had, like I said, these had a lot of detail on them. They're not open, obviously, on it. It'd be nice if they kind of were with a photo etch, but you could weather them and wash them, and they should look pretty good on it. Now, lifting fork assembly. this is what's really kind of interesting on this. Because the hoist cylinders, olive drab, it's a shaded area is aluminum, so it's got kind of a call out on it, swivel lock aluminum. Again, no glue on this stuff. So apparently once you put this together, you can pose the tractors, you can pose the Cannon in different places. And it has a quick lock assembly on it, which is pretty slick, really. I don't know if you can see this, we're attempting this with a tablet again. But right here, these lifting hoist cylinders go up through into the lifting fork, and they go up through and then they turn 90 degrees and come back down and lock, so you can hook up to this. So it gives you the option of just hooking and unhooking on it without any problem. Shows it on both lifting forks on it. There's my ace helper, Sarah Kitty. Again, no glue on any of this unless you want to glue it so that it doesn't move. Most people don't want to play with them. Tire and wheel assembly. The tires are a two-part tire, and the hub and drum are two-part on it. The front vehicle assembly, the front drive on it, is called out, and what I thought was two-part spring assemblies, one half for each side, wasn't. These are just, each spring assembly is for each side. Not a lot of, there is some detail, the drivetrain, torque converter, front end on it, the two different links axles on it. Again, we get to the front axle assembly continued, front vehicle assembly, I'm sorry, continued. Again, this is for the rear axle on it, calls out the two different axle links on it. A bunch of the different small parts underneath there all called out. Has a drive shaft, a long drive shaft assembly that goes in it. So it's fairly detailed underneath there on it. Front vehicle assembly continued. Has the cab on it with the crew seat, the driver's seat, headlight panel on it. Everything, as I covered on that first one, they're embossed in it. There's no opening where you can put it in. Has the cab roof, windshield strips, engine screen. There's no engine that goes in this. The muffler on top, engine compartment, left engine screen. For the winch, it has a winch plate on it, spare tire winch, spare tire hub. Front vehicle final assembly, completed winch, completed spare tire, swivel seat for the Cannon assembly. Machine gun assembly, the 50 caliber is pretty well detailed on it. Has the gun ring, the old standard gun ring you've seen a lot of in the 50s. It had the 2 and 3 parts on it that fit that you could move around it. Shows the final assembly on this, the bumpers, crew steps, mirrors. The gun mount goes right here on the top. But there's something interesting if you look at this. There is no hole there for the gun ring. So either you stand on the back, I guess, and use it that way and hope everybody attacks where you can pivot it, set up in the center of the gun ring, or stand on the bumper, something like that. One review I read said they'd only ever seen one picture with a gun ring on it. Most of them don't have it. On this, it has the cable guides. You put the decal on first, and then you put the parts through into it. Has the rear bumper, same thing, hoist hooks on it, the pintle hooks, the clevises. Rear vehicle assembly, same thing as front vehicle assembly basically on it. All the way through, it shows the driver, put the driver in first before you put the top on. Same basic assembly steps through this. Only this one, same thing, has a completed machine gun assembly, goes on it. Bumpers, front and rear bumpers on it. The cart assembly for hauling that 600-pound shell around on it is kind of a little small cart. I'd have to, if you were going to get really carried away on it, you'd probably have to do some research to find a different cart assembly. The figure final assembly, they are all basically the same. They are all posed the same. There's no being able to pose them. That was pretty common back in the 50s and 60s. You didn't have the multi-part crew members that you get now. If you wanted to pose them, you had to cut them apart and redo them and into the different poses. And it says completed front vehicle, no glue, completed atomic cannon, completed rear vehicle, no glue also. Decal placement, which is pretty simple on the decals. Paint note on it, headlights, taillights on it, paint assembly of decals on the guns, paint notes on it, decals in this. But one thing, if you notice that's missing in this, there's no clear parts. There's no windshields for it. So if you've got some clear styrene, then it will be no problem to put some in the windshield. Now, this is another one that is posable in several different ways. I found 3 sets of pictures for this Ren wall, for the Atomic Cannon. One is at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where this thing that is set in there is very pristine. It doesn't have the guns on it, the gun racks and 50 calibers. It's very pristine, very well painted. The transporter units are setting on jack stands so they don't sink down into the dirt or anything like that. The second one I found is at pictures that I found is at one setting somewhere, I'll have to go back and look, that it is just falling apart. It is totally rusted. Headlights are broke out of it or missing. Major rust everywhere. The tires are going flat. It is sinking down into the dirt and the gravel. It has weeds growing all around it. Looks really bad. The third one is just of the cannon itself, setting in a field. There's no transporters around it. Same thing. It's just slowly rusting to pieces and falling apart. So there's 3 dioramas you could do. You could do it where you could pose the figures like it is on this, moving, rotating the cannon, driving it, or setting someplace where it's just kind of been abandoned and left, or setting at a museum. So all things considered, this looks like a pretty good kit to build. Hopefully I'll get started on it shortly, and hopefully I can eventually get everything figured out with the problems with YouTube and my different accounts. So this is the Pirate Hunter, and to quote Jerry Springer, as I always do, take care of yourself and each other. Thanks for watching. Please comment and leave your likes or dislikes for this review. Thanks.